Oh, welcome to Neighborhood Game Club. Today I'm hanging out with the raddest and baddest dude, Nathan Barnatt. He does videos like Keith Apicary's Talking Classics and dance videos and more. It's gonna be a super exciting episode. We're gonna find out what it's like to be a superstar on the internet. So double down because it's an extra long, exciting episode, and you're gonna want to take your donkey to your room and lock the door because it's an ultimate pixel fest of gaming, and you're gonna drive away at the end and go, hang on, I know everything there is to know about arcades, YouTube videos, UCB, and more with Nathan Barnatt, the physical comedy king.
Easy, man. You're gonna put me out of business. It's the Neighborhood Game Club. Hi, I'm Nathan Barnatt. Welcome to my house.
So you collect arcade cabinets, right?
Yes, I mostly had them at first for Keith Apicary for Talking Classics. I also like arcade games a lot, so I was like, oh, perfect. Keith has his arcade, so it was like a reason to get games. And then it just went crazy, and I've had so many. I don't have that many right now because this arcade, our garage, I should say, isn't that big, so they're actually kind of spilling into the house. But the plan is to open an actual arcade at some point, and that's why I'm hanging on to them, because eventually I'll have a full functioning public arcade, and I'll just move them all there.
That'd be awesome. So
Yeah.
the rarest thing you have is this F-Zero machine. Can you tell me about this?
Yes, this is off right now because the fan is loud and it messes with the camera for the viewers at home. A little FYI behind the scenes. Sorry, there's a lot of noise coming from this game right here. I mean, I'm about to beat the final level. It's a really easy game. You just hit one button and then walk away, and then 45 minutes later,
you unlock clean clothes.
Yes, that's the achievement. Back to the rare game. There's 48 of these in the world, confirmed. There might be 50, and I've owned 2 of them. So, pretty cool. This is my one and only my one and only pinball machine, which is a Mario pinball machine. And it's the shorter cabinet. It's pretty rare. I think there's only like 512 of them in the world. The cool thing about this is when you're playing, you go to these video modes where oh, ignore that. That's my friend who beat my high score. I should say my name. But yeah, you're Mario and you're jumping gaps on this screen. And it's actually playing a video game. You're making him run and jump with the buttons. So it's pretty cool. Kenneth Jeffrey, who makes a lot of my custom cabinets. I got a guy. Pretty cool. I don't know how many people they have a guy for arcade games, but I got one. He made, this was some Japanese cabinet, and he just put Dreamcast stuff all over it and wired in this arcade stick. And if you open it up, you can see it's just a Dreamcast. So I can put different arcade controllers in there, so I can do 2-player. But usually it's just me all alone by myself playing video games. Oh yeah, I don't even know where to begin with this. This thing is next level. The Kenneth Jeffrey again. Kick-ass arcades, you can see his logo. I gotta give him a plug. This whole thing glows, the buttons glow, and the marquee glows, and it all strobes different colors at the same time. It has a remote. You can change the color to solid color, flickering, kind of strobing LED lights. But it's the perfect amount. I was like, what if we had the whole control panel glow? He's like, I can do that. I got you. And he did it, and he put all the Geometry Wars.
That's it. So it's all running off a 360, and it's all 30 Geometry Wars.
It's just a PlayStation. It's PlayStation 360. I know video games. I feel like it's a modern classic in a way. It's sort of like Tron and Smash TV and Robotron. So it seems like it should be in an arcade cabinet. So that's why I decided to put it in. I also want to try to get a Trials Fusion arcade cabinet.
Would you have an actual motorbike as the controller?
Well, he's like, I know the perfect game. There's a Sega game where you're on a motorcycle, dirt bike, and you push down and back. And that's what you do on Trials. You lean back and forth to do flips and even your bounce out. So you'd be on the dirt bike like this, constantly countering. So he's like, I think we could wire it so it would work.
Quickly, you have some classic consoles. You have a Turbo Graphics.
Yeah, I guess randomly here and there I have a Turbo Graphics. I got the Turbo Express, and I got a bunch of Game Boys.
We got Bonk's Revenge.
Bonk's Golf. It comes with every time you get a Turbo Graphics, it comes with here's 18 copies of Golf and Tennis.
Hell yeah.
So, but Keith Carge and Bonk. Bonk's one of the best games I've played on a 16-bit console. I love it. pretty advanced for back then for like Sega and Super Nintendo era, you know? Like this kind of like blew them away, I'd say. So this is a Game Boy Advance SP that's in a Game Boy DMG.
So the screen lights up. That's
it's color, it lights up. And this, I'm not kidding you, I haven't charged this in over 2 years. And it still turns on every time I turn it on. You can see it's just got like this battery pack.
And then Steve Jobs would be stoked. You got several apples.
I'm working on a new episode of Talking Classics. I'm doing a Prince of Persia one, and I got so many. There's another one over here, and it came with a carrying case. This will be Keith's Macintosh for the Prince of Persia episode. And I have over here, got my Streets of Rage.
Hell yeah.
One soundtrack from Data Discs. These guys are awesome. They make like tons of cool Sega games. They put them on vinyl. My Pac-Man cocktail cabinet, or Miss Pac-Man I should say, but it has everything. It's got Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, Pac-Attack, Pac-Attack. Double Donkey Kong. It's got Donkey Kong Jr. and Donkey Kong on it. My WWF Superstars. This is a multicade, MAME sort of. It's like an advanced multicade.
It's an all-in-one emulator. There's like Nintendo, Genesis.
It's got it
tons
all.
Of main games.
Yeah, it's got all the Laserdisc games. It's awesome. My Game Boy Store kiosk, you can put like obviously any Game Boy game. Here's the Game Boy, and I have it pulled out right now so that I can like, get my hands on it because it's harder to play like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just basically a giant Game Boy. Contra, not in a Contra cabinet. I don't know what it actually is, but it's Contra.
One thing we'll talk about is I love that Contra was directly inspired by Rambo. Like big hunks with machine guns, the red bandana.
You can never go wrong with hunks and machine guns.
Confidential Mission, I can't believe you own. Sega's all of Sega's arcade games are great. This is kind of a late one, like 2000s. But yeah, it's just...
I love shooting. House of the Dead is one of my favorite games. But I've played it so much, I don't really care to own it. I had a Jurassic Park 3 here a couple days ago, and I switched it. I bought this instead. I sold the Jurassic Park 3 for Confidential Mission. I felt better about shooting people instead of dinosaurs. This is my Keith Apicary arcade stick that some dude made me and sent it to me. And it's got like everything that Keith likes on it. It's got Metal Slug, there's a Marco right there. Keith as the Ultimate Warrior.
Oh, that's awesome.
Mad Max on the back. Keith dancing from his dance audition video.
Dirt Dash.
It's awesome. It's a game I bought randomly off Craigslist before, and I loved it. It was really fun. Then I sold it. And I missed it, and I saw another one like years later on Craigslist, so I had to get it. This is my Fix It Felix, made again by Kenneth Jeffrey, who did my Dreamcast and my Geometry Wars cabinet. He took a Donkey Kong, it was like an old beat up one, and stripped it and put this in, and he like printed out the marquee, the bezel, like everything. This is the almighty NeoGeo. I love NeoGeo. Here we have my Super Hang-On, and I've always wanted one of these. This game is awesome. It's really hard and really fun, and you basically ride the motorcycle. That's how you steer, and there's a turbo down here. It goes really fast. It's very challenging. I have yet to beat one level, but it's so fun. I cannot play it.
All right, well, there you go. Nathan's arcade, very impressive. We'll talk SNK, NeoGeo. We'll talk arcade games. We'll talk Sega. We'll talk so much. Your head will spin. Ready to do it?
Yeah.
Welcome to the podcast portion of Neighborhood Game Club. I'm here with Nathan Barnatt, also known as Keith Apicary, also known as Ray Amsley, also known as a million other YouTube characters.
Other crazy person flopping around.
Yeah, and a dancer and all of that. Nathan is great. He does YouTube videos. He's a comedian. He's an actor. He's an acrobat.
He's also a stunt man.
Accidentally. But more than that, he is a collector of video games, an enthusiast, and yeah, he has arcade games and everything. There's so much I want to talk about, but on this episode, I want to focus more on arcades.
All right.
So usually, I always ask people like, "Oh, what was like the first games you had? What early consoles you had?" Mm-hmm. We've covered that a lot on my show. What are your early memories as a kid going to the arcades? Do you remember anything like your first arcade or experiences?
I don't actually. I do. One of the earliest memories I have was playing a countertop play choice at an Applebee's somewhere in Massachusetts when I was really little. My mom was giving me quarters to go, and I kept playing it. I remember playing Mario 2. And I looked at it now, and it's funny, I didn't remember it looking the way it did, but it was that play choice with the thin joysticks.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like a countertop one. That's what they had at Applebee's, and that was like my first real arcade experience. Uh-huh. And after that, when I was like a teenager, we went to this arcade, I'm from Massachusetts, and we went to this arcade in Framingham. I forget what it was called. It was on Route 9, so if anyone out there knows, it's gone now, but you like walk through this like tunnel of light. And you're like, whoa, where am I? You're like going to the future, and they would just play like every arcade game.
Was this like early 90s?
It was mid 90s, like 95.
Yeah.
About, so.
So do you have brothers, right?
Yeah, two brothers.
So was that a big thing for you and your brothers going to the arcade and just going wild?
Yeah, we really liked going out to play video games. To specifically that Framingham arcade. A lot of malls. There was another one also in Framingham that we'd go to. That was in the Natick, I guess. The same thing. They're right next door. The Natick Mall had an arcade inside, and I remember that was the first place I played Virtua Fighter, and I remember being like, "Whoa, look at these graphics!" It's like you see around them. I thought it was cool, and it was different than like Street Fighter. But yeah, I mean, we liked going to the arcades a lot. It was really fun, but it was also expensive, so we didn't do it often.
Yeah,
we played Sega at home most of the time.
So like for me, like as a kid, I had Super Nintendo, but I think you're right with Sega having like 3D graphics. For me as a kid, like arcades meant that was the place to find the latest arcades, because like the graphics and technology of arcade or games at the arcades were way ahead of like 16-bit.
Isn't that funny that you were always ahead of the console? And I remember thinking, I was like, why don't I have these graphics here? And I remember thinking that when I was younger, that it was different. I thought, well, because it's a bigger cabinet, it has more power or whatever, and they can't put that in this cartridge. Yeah. But now it's the opposite. It's like the home consoles are like virtual reality is like more advanced than what they have in. And
that's kind of what led to the death of arcades, and we'll get towards that.
I never thought about that. Wow.
Yeah. See, I'm ahead. You're gonna learn a lot today.
Man,
I have this all planned out. No, really, because talking about also like ports, there'd be arcade ports of games, but they would be like watered down, like poor sound, poor graphics. Like Final Fight, the arcade version, super bright graphics, and at home you couldn't do co-op. You couldn't like there's a level missing. There would always be stuff cut from the games because they couldn't fit all that in space. Yeah. But like there's like the biggest technology thing for me was when the first time I saw Virtua Fighter 3 or like the late like 90s Dreamcast games where it was like, because Virtua Fighter 1 and 2, there's polygons, but they're janky. But Virtua Fighter 3 was like slick.
And it was smooth and it was like, I couldn't. Yeah, that's like Saturn graphics versus Dreamcast graphics. Yeah, that's when it all changed, and like especially the female characters when they got more realistic. It was like whoa, and then I started like genuinely being like romantically interested or like you know attracted to a video game character, which didn't really happen before. And that's when things got different. I was like, well, is this a game or is this like? It was too real. And then I remember saying to my brother, so we were like, oh, how many bit is the next system going to be? And like, were they going to go to like 1 million bit? Eventually, we always thought it was going to be in bits. Yeah. But now it's like, I don't even know what they call it. But we started thinking, well, eventually it's just going to be movies. And then it won't feel like a game. And in a way, that's happened. Yeah. They have, like that Final Fantasy movie that came out looks real. Yeah. And it kind of messes with your head because like, what? Those you can't tell. So confusing.
And that's why I like a lot of like even retro games and like Sega games particularly is like they kind of didn't strive for realism. It was like here's these bright, colorful worlds. It's goofy, it's silly.
That's why I like arcade games.
And it's just like it's this completely other world. Whereas it's now today with like graphics are so realistic of like okay, it's cool, but it's like it's not so.
It's
different.
Not a game anymore. It's like okay, there's two things going on here. You're trying to just have the most advanced video game graphics out there, which is cool. But also, the main objective should be making it fun and fun to look at. So I think like Geometry Wars is a good example. Yeah. It looks like an 80s game, like Tron or something, and it's just flashy and noisy and bright, and that's all I want.
Yeah. What were your favorite like arcade games when you were like a teenager going to the arcade? What was the thing that you would always look for immediately when you went to an arcade? Like, does this game have this, or does this place have this?
I remember going to play Mortal Kombat. Yeah. That was because it was just I didn't have it at home. We weren't allowed to have that game. My friend Josh Lavasser had it, and he wouldn't let us play it ever. So we'd climb up on his railing and we'd watch through his window as he would play Mortal Kombat by himself. But Mortal Kombat in the arcade, I looked for that, and I can't remember anything else. NeoGeo, I wasn't even aware of NeoGeo at the time. It was too out of my world, in my realm. So I played air hockey a lot with my brother, so that was like fun. But I don't think I was as into video games as I was, or I didn't know how much I was. I liked video games like anyone. We had Sega and Atari before that, so we weren't like a huge gaming household. Then I got a Game Boy when Game Gear came out, so I was like kind of behind. My brother got the Game Gear. I liked Game Boy, but as far as arcades go, I wasn't aware and like what was going on until I was a teenager when I started like having my own money and getting introduced to it on my own. and I don't even remember like what I liked. It's like now all I think was what I like now, and I can't remember what I used to like. Now I like almost everything.
Well, yeah, because as you gotten older, you like start going like when you have the internet, then it's like you find about games that you never saw as a kid or weren't at your arcade, and it's like, well, I want to play this.
Yeah.
And then like you start filling in holes. Like that's what I've been doing the past like 4 years. It's just like, oh, I never played Final Fantasy. You know, like, I never played.
Yeah, I never played Final Fantasy either.
Yeah.
I can't play like the turnstile battle games. It's too slow for me. I like fast action and loud noises. That's like Metal Slug is like the perfect game for me. And Sonic the Hedgehog, I just like the cliche 90s blast processing aggressive.
We'll get
style. That's what I like.
Metal Slug ties into something else I want to talk about. I want to get into NeoGeo, but one thing that I feel dominates early arcade games, kind of like the greatest inspiration for them all, is Rambo.
Yeah.
And the 80s American action movie. That it's funny because all these games mostly developed by Japanese developers like Contra, Metal Slug, and everything, and it's all them kind of idolizing like Stallone or Schwarzenegger. I've always like growing up, I loved like Metal Slug in those games. Like I love Metal Gear. I only just saw the Rambo movies like a few months ago.
Really?
Yeah. So as a kid growing up,
Did you see First Blood?
No, I mean I watched it all. Yeah, I watched First Blood.
Okay, yeah.
But like growing up, I just Sylvester Stallone, I didn't care about. I was all in on Arnold Schwarzenegger. So like like Terminator, Commando, everything like Demolition Man I did watch. But I completely ignored Sylvester Stallone.
I didn't see Rambo at all. I didn't see a lot of like the rated R stuff. My parents just they were sheltering us from that. I wasn't aware, and like people would talk about it, but I didn't really know. I was like, oh yeah, Rambo's a muscle guy with guns. I didn't know at all until I watched Rambo for First Blood for the first time maybe like 10 years ago when I was like 25. So, and that blew my mind. I was like, First Blood is like a good movie.
Yeah, it's a genuine like good thriller. Like there's all these like great like themes in it. But yeah, so I again filling in gaps. I never watched those Stallone. I watched the Rocky movies, loved it. Yeah, so I watched First Blood and I liked it. It was a genuinely good movie, a good thriller. But not at all what I thought Rambo was. Like, this isn't Contra. Yeah. And then, okay, but
it's like crying in it. You're like, Rambo doesn't, Marco doesn't cry in Metal Slug.
Yeah. So then, all right. So I watched First Blood Part 2 Rambo. Whatever, the title is ridiculous. I started watching.
Rambo 2, I guess we can call it. Yeah, the names are confusing.
First Blood Part 2 Rambo. Whatever. Yeah. So I start watching Rambo 2, written by James Cameron. It's like, oh, okay, great. And then, you're watching Rambo 2, and it's like, this is it. This is Metal Slug. Like,
you're running through the jungle.
It's running through the jungle with a bandana, picking up machine guns, rescuing the hostages from
which look very much like
rescuing the hostages from the cages. Like, and it's like, oh my god, this is Contra. This is everything. This is where it comes from. All right, I loved it. Then I watched Rambo 3, and it's like, oh, this is like Metal Gear, where it's like Rambo 3 he's in Afghanistan fighting tanks and everything with machine. And it's like, I mean, Metal Gear is more nuanced than that, but it's like. Rambo 3, there's a scene where Rambo's guide is on a horse and they get into the big desert and then he's like, Rambo, this is Afghanistan. And in Metal Gear 5, there's a scene where Otacon introduces Snake and he's like, Snake, this is Afghanistan. And it's like, oh my god.
Definitely referencing.
And then like the newer Rambo, which is like ridiculous. It's like, oh, this is Call of Duty, just on a big machine gun.
For sure.
And I watched that and I was like, I get it now. I get where Metal Slug pulls from. I get where like this all comes from. And even the box art of Contra are these two hunks with machine guns, and one is directly Sylvester Stallone, one is Arnold Schwarzenegger. And like I just had this revelation of like, oh, this is like such a huge touchstone. But like, yeah, you said you like Metal Slug because it's just bursts of macho-ness, and those games are so fun. And I read like an interview with the director of Crazy Taxi of all things.
Oh yeah.
But he said like his design process for all those Sega games he made is he was focusing on giving people intense bursts of fun.
That's cool.
Not something you would play like forever. Like you can't play Crazy Taxi.
That's like a perfect arcade game.
But it's just exactly. So stuff like Metal Slug where you can pop in a quarter, play for like 3 minutes, or even if you want to pump in a ton.
Like one level is like, oh cool, I blew a bunch of guys up. That was cool. I got it like out of my system.
Yeah, and that's again the part of the joy of going to arcades is you wouldn't just sit there and play one game. You would play like 20 games in an hour.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna play a little bit of this and hop around, play a fighting game. You just like feeding all this.
Final Fight is a good game that you do. You just play like one level, get through in the arcade, and okay, moving on. Yeah, and like it's funny sometimes if I would lose. And like, it's like, do I want to keep playing or not? Like, I don't care. Sometimes I would even walk away mid-quarter. I do that too. It's like, oh, I'm bored now. But if you have a friend there, then it's easier to convince you to be like, hey, let's go all the way through. Yeah. We'll just keep pumping quarters in. I beat Final Fight that way.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to say, what's the first like arcade game you remember beating and getting to the end?
it might not have been until I owned them. It's probably Metal Slug, actually. Yeah, because it was the first like side-scrolling game I had played all the way through. Unless I played something in arcade with like one of my brothers, but I can't remember. But they were all like fighting games we'd play against each other and stuff. It's probably Metal Slug 1.
Yeah.
I beat it with my brother at our apartment. So yeah, Metal Slug right there.
The first game I think I remember beating. I mean, I like fighting games you could beat like once you played enough, like Marvel vs. Capcom.
Well, I beat like Street Fighter and stuff.
Yeah, but like that's like,
but not even in the arcade. I was never good enough or in there long enough. But yeah. Fighting games?
Yeah, so like as a kid, I would get really good as like Marvel vs. Capcom, where it's in like Marvel vs. Capcom 2, I could put in 1 quarter and play for 20 minutes, beat the game, okay, and then put in another quarter because you could just if you're good enough, you can play through it. So like
I was never that good at any like fighting game. I stink at fighting games except for Mark of the Wolves. That's the one. Or anything with Terry Bogard, I'm pretty good with him, and I can beat a game maybe on 1 quarter. But I stink. All like Capcom games, I can't do it.
Yeah. So again, Capcom and SNK, there's kind of this distinction. So you're hardcore into like SNK.
I love
NeoGeo.
SNK, Sega, Nintendo, PlayStation. I like, but like Xbox. There's like a line. I feel like PlayStation, NeoGeo, TurboGrafx, Sega. They're all like the bad boys of gaming. That's what I really like.
So like because growing up, I was never really into Fatal Fury. Like now I can look at like these graphics, like King of Fighters. The graphics, sprite work is incredible. Music is really cool. The roster of characters is so dynamic.
Yeah. Oh, I love the SNK characters. I like so much more than Capcom characters. They're just different. They're more Japanese, I guess, in a way. Like their style and their flair.
It's got that like 90s Japanese Tokyo
slang. There's a wrestler I really like. His name's Shitsaki, I think is how I say his name. Nakamura is he's a new guy. He's in NXT. He's like a popular Japanese wrestler. He's like a Neo Geo character. He's always doing things like this, and he just like does these weird hand gestures, and he's very like theatrical.
Well, that's
and weird.
Like Iori is like that. Just
and they'll have like leather jackets with collars up high, and they look like vampires, kind of. Yeah, they're awesome. I really like. I like Blaz Blue. That's another game I really like. That's
those
like
games are like like Guilty Gear, Blaz. I never got into those games because the system. I was so used to Street Fighter. The systems of those games are just like on the other side of the brain.
It's different. It's not like just button mashing. It's different type of button mashing in a way.
So like my exposure to Neo Geo was there was a pizza place across the street called Ballpark Pizza, and they had a Neo Geo cabinet, and like. All the other kids that I went to, like, at the time, didn't really have that.
It's like laundromats and pizza places.
Why is it that, regular arcades didn't have the Neo Geos, but I think
maybe because they didn't like that had multiple games on it. Like a play choice. So
I think that's why you'd find Neo Geo at these, like, non-arcades. It's because they can cram a ton of games.
Arcade in one. Yeah.
So 4 in 1. But because, like, the pizza place had it, and they had... like Samurai Showdown, which for a little kid, like there's blood in that, and it's like whoa. That
is such a good game. Gal Ford is my favorite in that game. He's the fencing guy.
I like the guy who has a dog. Like
who has the dog? Is it Gal Ford that has a dog? No, Gal Ford is the fencing guy. I think. I sing about it in the Neo Geo song. Gal Ford is the fencing guy. I forget who has the ninja dog.
Yeah, it was the ninja guy.
That's what I call the ninja dog.
Ninja dog.
Anyways,
but like
those are the two of the best characters.
Yeah, but again, it was just different than Mortal Kombat, different than Street Fighter. So that was cool. There was like a baseball game.
Yeah, everyone has a sword. The whole gimmick of that is everyone has weapons.
Yeah,
the baseball game.
That game was fun.
I think it's Neo Geo All Stars. Maybe. Yeah. My brother Seth played that all the time. The joysticks were falling apart and sinking in because he played it so much. He was obsessed with that baseball game. That's a really fun game.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's cool about Neo Geo is
there's like there's top-down racing games on Neo Geo. Yeah. They have everything.
Because everything was limited to like 3 buttons. So like controls were simple.
4 buttons.
Or 4, sorry, you would know. Limited to 4 buttons as opposed to like 6 or some of these sprawling things. But like, so controls were always simple. Every time you start a game, there's the tutorial. Yeah. Like, this is the jump, this is the kick. But like, it made things really quick and easy to learn how to play.
Yeah.
But when I think Neo Geo, I think Metal Slug. Just like, that was just that quick burst. There's another game that's grown in popularity as of late called Windjammers.
I knew you were going to say it. I was like, he's going to say Windjammers. It's really popular. Xavier Woods is the
wrestling guy,
he loves Windjammers, and he goes to this arcade that I go to, Game Underground, in Framingham, Natick, Massachusetts, in the Natick Mall. And he does these live shows and hosts there, and he does Windjammers tournaments there.
That's so cool. So that this arcade's still around, and they still
it's a new arcade. They changed locations. They've gotten bigger. I'm friends with the owner, Jamie. He's a really cool guy. I used to do Keith shows down. It was called Game Underground because it was actually underground. It was under a Chinese food place, and now they have like a big in like the brand new mall. They have like a store like out in like there's like the mall, and then there's all these like like California Pizza Kitchen, all these restaurants up front. He's like right there in this awesome location, and they have so many games. But yeah, they do all these like live tournaments.
Dang, if you're on the East Coast, go check that out. That sounds cool.
You definitely should.
Like the reason I found about Windjammers is Giant Bomb. Like Jeff Gerstmann talked about this game, and like they talked about it, and it just blew up and blew up. And so I, again, as a kid, never saw Windjammers. I don't think it like so rare, but yeah, you play this now.
NeoGeo has so many games, and like no one knew about them. Because they're too expensive.
And they're Japanese, so it's on the other side.
Yep.
But yeah, because of emulation, you can uncover just all these crazy ass games. But yeah, Windjammers is
it's hard. I played it recently, and I stink at it. I can't do it. It's too hard for me. Some games I'm like, well, I'm not gonna bother. I can't play that game. I won't be good at it.
Yeah, like for like those listening, like if you don't know, Windjammers is flying disc.
It's frisbee. You're on a beach. It's like you're playing frisbee, but like sort of like volleyball. And you just have to like throw it at each other and like catch it and throw it back.
But it's like extreme.
You can charge it up.
Yeah, every character has different like tactics. Some will do like 90-degree turns with it. Like it's so ridiculous. Yeah. But it's fun, and the soundtrack is just that 90s like Saved by the Bell vibe.
Yeah, and it's all the beach going. It's kind of like California Games. Yeah. Like the alternative game.
Oh, it's so cool. And yeah, I never saw it about till now.
Yeah, it's a good one.
There's a emulation program called Fightcade.
Oh, I didn't know
It's kind of new. It was in alpha. Now it's doing more. So the premise of Fightcade is you can play on if two people have Fightcade on other computers, you can play online with each other. So it makes it super easy to play multiplayer.
So it's an emulator you can play with someone else.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I got my friend to play. Windjammers with it, and like the Last Blade, all these SNK games. But yeah, Fightcade is super cool. And that's kind of how I'm like going back and discovering all these lost arcade games, and they keep adding support. Fightcade is blowing my mind.
I'm gonna try that.
And yeah, it's on Mac also, Mac and PC.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, because I don't have a PC, and that's one of the reasons I like don't play a lot of stuff.
So NeoGeo, again, really weird games, but are just awesome. And again, the sprite work that SNK does is awesome.
Yeah, and like everything just moved faster because it was like a supercharged Genesis in a way. That's how I look at it. And
so yeah, so I love NeoGeo, and then on the other side, going to the arcade, because like Capcom, they would make arcade games, but you can get them at home. Again, I always had kind of Super Nintendo. I didn't have Genesis, so I didn't have access to some of these games. Sega games blew me away as a kid going to the arcade. Specifically, House of the Dead was my favorite.
So good. That game was awesome. I love all the House of the Dead games, but 2 is like the one that I think everyone plays.
Yeah, I remember when I loved like Dawn of the Dead as a kid growing up. Like before zombies came back, like Resident Evil, Dawn of the Dead. I love that. And then when I saw House of the Dead, I was like, oh, this is the third like zombie thing. And so my local arcade near me was a Sega City in Irvine, which is like the Sega-owned arcade, so they had all the newest Sega games.
That's cool.
They would have like free play Tuesdays for $10.
Oh, that's
where everything
awesome.
was on free play for $10. My dad would drop me off for the night.
Wow, that's a fun night.
Yeah, and so we would like that was the only way I could beat House of the Dead, just infinite credits. The thing I loved about House of the Dead is like it gave you player choice, where it's like, oh, do you want to go down this like sewer?
That was cool. Do you want options?
Do you want
choose your own adventure?
Yeah, you want to go. Yeah, exactly. You can unlock these doors. And so
then you always want to go back and do the other way and see what happens.
So I would play through it, and that's the other thing fun about going to arcades is you could walk up to someone, and then like, as a little kid, I could be friends with this older guy, not creepy like that, but but
like somebody you wouldn't normally be friends with.
Yeah, like you could just walk up to like a big kid, and we'd play a game together, and he would show me stuff, he'd learn stuff. But yeah, House of the Dead was fun playing.
I love trying to get in House of the Dead all the secret items, like the gold things that pop up. You shoot like a pot, and there's like a golden harp or whatever it is you have to get. I love trying to get those. I take so many hits trying to get them. It's like it drives me crazy.
Oh, because you're ignoring the zombies or bats, and you're just shooting this barrel in the corner.
Get that thing because I feel like something great's gonna happen.
Yeah, because sometimes those will lead to like surprises. And yeah, when you die at the end, it gives you that branching path of like do, and it's like wait, I can go here. And so you just play the game over and over and over, and you watch other people be like, oh, you go in here. Those games are amazing.
Those are really fun.
And then not Sega, we'll go back to, but I also love Time Crisis.
Time Crisis was like kind of like Area 51, right?
No, so those are the midway games.
Time Crisis, kind of.
Time Crisis is where you're stepping on the pad to duck out and shoot, and then you do that.
I did play Time Crisis.
Time Crisis 2
is my favorite. It was like a floor pad.
Yeah, so it was a floor pad where you're ducking, and then.
I always thought that was. I don't know if you're thinking. I can't remember. I always thought that was a reload. You could like step on that to reload.
So you shoot outside the screen reload. But yeah, so Time Crisis was like. it's a game where you're racing against the clock, but like, yeah, you can take cover. So you can.
Oh, were you in a helicopter for part of that?
Probably, yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, so
Maybe
that's
Scope.
that's the newer
Silent
one.
Scope,
Silent Scope is also good. Those are all the Namco
There's
games.
so many shooting games.
Oh, Nathan, you gotta play Time Crisis too.
Yeah, I'm like behind on all these shooting games.
I'll stick to your area of
I
expertise.
know Time Crisis. I don't sound like an idiot. I've seen it a million times. I've probably played it, but I'm not remembering it right.
Sega. So House of the Dead was great, and then Crazy Taxi came out, which
I loved Crazy Taxi. I loved it. I had that in Dreamcast, and I played it so much.
Yeah.
And then I'd go and play it in the arcade. I almost bought one once, but it was just like the standing cabinet. But
no, you need the hardcore.
Sit down.
Yeah.
Every driving game has to be a sit down.
The thing
cabinet.
I love about Crazy Taxi, I mean, one, growing up again, my favorite band was The Offspring. I just love that, like...
I loved them, too. I was so into, like, the punk albums,
that, like,
the Nitro records.
That cheesy, like, California
Punk-orama.
punk. Yeah, like, just that cheesy California punk, like, sound is... Like,
are you from California?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, so that's perfect for you. I was from Massachusetts. And I loved that whole world of, like, all these California punk bands.
Yeah.
AFI I was really into. I don't know if they're from... They were on like Nitro Records, compilations, and Punk-orama and stuff. I loved all of that. So Offspring was my favorite. And then when they were on it, I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah. So like, what I also love about Crazy Taxi was like the product placement wasn't cheesy. It was like cool. Like take me to KFC. Take me to like
I want to go KFC too. I actually want to go there.
I want Pizza Hut. Like it felt like a real world, but like super positive, super fun, super happy. I love chaining, like, you could drive by and get chains on it. And like,
that was a really fun game. That was really unique and original. And like, you couldn't not drive crazy, but you weren't supposed to drive too crazy and make them sick.
You have to be skilled. You have to be skilled. And it's also cool, again, these arcade games, discovering secrets before the internet, like, you could start going down, or you could reverse, pick up a passenger, and go the other direction.
Yeah, a faster route.
Yeah, and so, like, discovering it. And then the same director who did Crazy Taxi did a game called Top Skater.
That was a game I loved, because I skateboarded a lot. I was a big skateboarder. I still do skateboard.
Yeah.
That game was awesome to me. I was like, this is crazy. I'm on a skateboard playing a game. And it was insane. It was like before Tony Hawk games came out.
It was 97. Yeah, so right before.
It was the first insane skating game.
And it's funny, I've mentioned this game to other people, but other people are like, what? They don't know. But like, yeah, I think because you grew up in skateboarding.
There's a lot of those on Craigslist right now.
Really?
Yeah, because they're so big and like no one wants them anymore.
Yeah, Again, that was solely scored by Pennywise. It's the same thing that just like that California punk, but same thing. It had Coca-Cola sponsorships everywhere.
Yeah.
And like Crazy Taxi, Top Skater, the things that drive those games together with Sega's aesthetic is like the deep blue skies. That's something I love that is not so common anymore with today's games. It's just that Sega aesthetic. You see in Dreamcast and Sonic, just these vibrant colors.
And the 18-wheeler, isn't that Sega too?
The Harley Davidson.
Yeah, the Harley game. That was fun too, the Harley game. I bought one of those Harley games one time because they all have the Naomi inside. It looks like a GameCube kind of.
Yeah.
I think that's what's in here.
Yeah.
It's like a blue, and you can switch to discs and stuff. But the sky is always super blue in those.
Yeah, and like it's fun, especially as a kid, like, playing these games. Yeah, it's funny, they gave you like adult jobs, like drive a taxi, drive a truck, whatever. But like, it just was this very hopeful world. Like everyone's smile. It's just a fun thing that's like lost. But that's what
I liked being in the Crazy Taxi world. And I like a lot of things I like to do in games is just be.
Yeah.
And I look around the world. Like Uncharted, I'm always just looking around the cliffs and the sky and stuff. I love scenery in video games, and that was the first time I remember like there was a training level in Crazy Taxi that was just an empty concrete slab. And I would have dreams that I was there in this like concrete test driving area. And the sky, it felt so sunny in the game because you could see the sun hitting the surfaces in this blue sky. It's this weird thing, but I loved just being there in the game and like looking around. And it's a thing I like think about still. I guess it's just this thing Sega does with their games. They know how to like make you feel like you want to be in there.
Yeah, I mean they're very warm and inviting. But that's something I did as a kid a lot too. Is like I didn't get a new game. Like now as an adult, I buy like. I buy so many games constantly, but younger, I would like spend so much time in games exploring, just getting every little chunk out of it.
Yeah, you want to like find every little trinket, pick up everything, and play the game to its max. And now it's like you get through the story mode, and it's
like I'm done. Yeah, like I finished the game Quantum Break in like 10 hours, and it's like, oh, now you can play the other path, and it's like, I got.
Yeah, I'd rather not. I got a stack of games over here from PlayStation 3 I still haven't played.
Same, yeah. But yeah, so like the thing that kind of attached me to Sega. I didn't have Genesis growing up. I later got a Dreamcast and like Xbox, which kind of became Dreamcast too. But basically, my favorite arcade was in Las Vegas called GameWorks.
Is that still open?
They've since reopened it.
People have told me I gotta go there, and I go to Las Vegas kind of often, and I have never been there.
GameWorks used to be around late 90s, early 2000s, formerly Sega City. It was just this huge arcade owned by Sega, so it was all the newest Sega games and everything else. Like, just all the deluxe cabinets, everything was the latest and greatest. And then, the arcade industry kind of plummeted, and it closed down, but now esports is the thing. And so they've reopened the GameWorks. It's like half like arcade stuff and then half like an esports arena lounge.
What are esports?
It's like it's like the equivalent of like internet cafes where it's like people show up and we'll play Counter-Strike, we'll have Counter-Strike tournaments or Smash Brothers tournaments. Like it's competitive gaming.
Yeah. PC style.
Yeah, that and but like my friend lives in Vegas. He goes to a lot. He says like there's a lot of pro players playing, hanging out, teaching each other things.
So it's just big LAN parties.
Kind of, yeah. So like, all right, I'm down to check that out.
That's cool.
So I love GameWorks. I would go. My dad would like take me, like we'd go to Vegas a lot. Same thing. He would drop me off, let me run around,
and then he'd go to casinos.
Yeah, and then he'd pick me up later. But hey, we both had we both had a lot of fun. And so it was just another thing like Daytona USA.
That was the first driving game I remember playing on Saturn. Well, on any system, I think it was Daytona USA, and I thought it was really cool. I got a little bored though because it was just a circle. I remember, but it was cool to like drive. No, Hard Driving. That was the first, which is another Sega game.
Yeah.
That was like a driving simulator. That was one of my favorite games, Hard Driving. Me and my brothers played that so much. Hitting the cow was our favorite part. It's so funny to us. I don't know if you ever played Hard Driving, but it's basically just a driving simulator, and you just drove around. You went up through a loop, and there was a cow you could hit, and it would go. Moo. It was so funny to us because it was a thing that was like you wouldn't expect. It was just scenery, and you hit it, it reacted. It was like, oh, whoa, they programmed in like a move, so we hit it all the time. Anyways,
I'll look up Hard Driving.
It's really
I haven't tried that out.
But Daytona USA, that was like the first racing game.
Yeah, GameWorks, they had like the 8 linked up like cabinets.
Oh, wow.
So all these 8 giant NASCAR like.
That's cool.
So yeah.
Oh yeah, they were actual like NASCARs, right?
Yeah. So like that was cool. Just these big presentation. Like you have the F-Zero machine here, just this giant contraption you can get in.
Yeah, it's like, ooh, I want to enter this game.
Yeah,
it's different. And like getting on a motorcycle, like Hang On, is like such a different experience.
Yeah.
I love Sega knows how to make arcade games for sure.
Yeah.
They make you like it's like something you don't normally see. And you want to like do that because otherwise, if you're just sitting there in like a bucket playing like Mario Kart, it's not as good.
And like you mentioned, like going into worlds, and I think that was something as a kid that was comforting about arcades. Is like you could just be like, I don't know, out with your parents or something. But then if you saw like, oh, there's a like Street Fighter machine, it's like I know this world. Let me can I have a quarter so I can go into my place.
I'm here a lot.
Yeah, so you could like, and it doesn't matter. Like a million different locations in the world, but like every location it has an arcade game, and it's like, oh, I'm familiar with this, and like it was just like. Kind of give you power as a kid. It's like, all right, I know this. Like, okay, mom, you can like order the food or like do the laundry.
My babysitter is right here.
Yeah, and like my parents knew that too. And then like, I just liked going to arcades because it was the new place to check out games. And so kind of what happened was, so for the longest time, arcades were ahead of home consoles. And then there was a cool period where Dreamcast came out, and it was like, hey, here are these like arcade level perfect ports. Oh, cool.
Yeah, there was no downgrading.
Yeah, it was like, oh, this is awesome. And then PS2 and Xbox came out, and there's Xbox Live, and like PC gaming was also huge, and like Steam, and it was like, oh, I don't have to go meet up with my friends. I can just play Halo 2 with them. Oh, okay. And then arcades kind of lost it, and then then by the time 360 came out, it's like, well, now we can't put a 360 in all these arcade
it'd be so expensive.
Yeah, so the technology kind of dropped off, and then. So a lot of arcades started closing down. Like there used to be a nickel arcade near my place. There's
nickel.
Yeah, nickel. Yeah.
That's where I bought. I think that's where this is from. I think. I was gonna buy the F-Zero from them before. Then it went to an auction, and then I think this is it. I think the guy bought it from the auction, and then he sold it.
Yeah, like there are a few nickels around, but like those started closing down, and then.
They had candy cabs there too in the back. I remember.
Oh, that's sick.
I went there once before they closed, and they had Japanese candy cabs, but they had raised them up to like American height.
Oh, instead of sitting down
instead of sitting ones,
And then so now like arcades died away, but now if you go to arcades like Dave and Buster's, it's all like iPhone games and like ticket games.
And like just like there's a game that's really fun, but it's not a game really. It's called Stacker. I don't know if you're Stacker. It's games like that. It's basically just these blocks that are moving, and you stop it so they land on top of each other, and it's really fun.
So you can win prizes. I've seen that.
Video game. And Jumping Jackpot is another game I really like, but you're just jumping a light rope. But that's what like arcades are now.
Yeah, it's now these like family attraction, and it's like it's fine. Like, okay, here's the new generation, they have your thing, but like, so there's very few places like to go play arcade games. So that's cool about hearing that thing on the East Coast is Retro Arcade. Yeah. There's Round 1, which is pretty cool.
I love Round 1. I love it. I love it. I go to Round 1 a lot. A few times a week. Three, sometimes 4 times a week. I haven't been in a couple weeks, but there's a game I play there called Jubeat.
Yeah.
And I have one coming this summer. I wish it was here now to show you, but it's coming from Japan. It's on a boat in May, and then it comes to Virginia, and then it gets shipped to my place. Gosh. It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's so fun.
So Jubeat is like, I mean, it's this Bimani, like the Konami's like DDR chain, whatever. So yeah, it's a new thing. It's like a cube, it's touchpad kind of, but you're just following these track lines down it. There's an iPad and iPhone version.
I have the iPhone one. I almost bought an iPad the other day just to have a bigger screen to play it on while I'm waiting for my game. Mm-hmm. I did an episode like a Keith. I do this thing with Keith's Arcade. It's just Keith talking about his games. He plays one at a time. I did an episode on Jubeat. I used the phone, but I show the images of it and stuff of the arcade cabinet. I stink at rhythm games. I'm really bad at rhythm games, and that's like what's really popular in arcades now, especially round one. Like the rhythm game universe is like big.
Yeah, and that's what keeps these like round one alive. Is like they import these Japanese games first, like also the Hatsune Miku cabinets and stuff. So it's like okay. And those are, again, these rhythm games are like, those are great in arcade settings. Yeah. Because it's like, you want the big things.
They're fun to watch, people who are really good, and when you master them, it's really satisfying. And the songs are like catchy and stuff. But Jubeat is the only one I can play. Like, I have bad rhythm. I can like dance. I don't know how, but I can dance to the rhythm. But when it comes to like playing guitar or drumming, I'm just off. So Jubeat, for some reason, it just says touch, and I just touch.
Yeah,
so I just kind of like following when it says, and then I get to this rhythm, and then I actually start dancing. Yeah. I'm like, I'm genuinely dancing in the arcade. I look like an idiot. People are like, oh, this guy's real into it. I look like a real gamer, but I love it. And that's why I feel, honestly, it sounds kind of lame, but I feel the most free when I'm at round one playing Jubeat because I don't care about anything. As people around me are all really into the rhythm games, I'm like, oh, this is cool for me to be into this. And I'm like dancing and playing, and I'm doing well, and I'm getting like a perfect combo. I'm like, oh, I love this. Like, so Jubeat is one of the reasons I've always liked arcades. I go often, but that I'm like so into the arcade. I go a lot now because of that game. So rhythm games. I think they're saving.
Yeah, and like the crazy thing when I saw Jubeat is like there's old school Konami tracks in it too.
Yeah, you can play Contra level game songs and stuff.
And like there's one of my favorite musicians is this producer named Yasutuka Nakata. Mm-hmm. He does Perfume, Kiari Pamu Pamu and stuff, and he has songs in the game. So you can play a Capsule song, a Cult of Monica song, like. So it's this.
There's a lot of songs in them,
and it's all these great modern Japanese songs. But yeah, here's this deep musician that like so people know of, and it's like, wait, this song is in here, and it's like, okay, yeah, so
that's cool.
And I know the song perfectly, so I can follow the rhythm. Yeah. Jubeat's cool. So yeah, you go to the round one in City of Industry.
City of Industry. I've been to the other one that's like closer to like Downey. I think
there's also one in like near Anaheim. I think that's the one. There's one near like Anaheim, Santa Ana. That's one closer.
There's 3 around here.
Okay, cool.
And I don't remember where the other one is, but City of Industry is closer. That's where they filmed Back to the Future. It's at that.
Oh,
mall.
The
Puente Hills is what it's called, but Twin Pines I think is what it was called in the movies. In the movie. But that's a really fun arcade. Round one's good. There's a bunch of arcades here in LA now. There's Button Mash, which is like a barcade / restaurant. It's pretty good. Neon Arcade is like in Pasadena. That's a retro arcade.
Oh, cool.
It's a guy I know. I know the guy who owns it. Him and his wife own it. He bought some games from me, and when he came, he's like, oh, I know Keith Apicary. I was like, oh, cool. So then, since we had traded a bunch of games, and I had a Popeye cabinet that I sold him that's now in the arcade. Yeah. But Neon Arcade, that's a really good arcade in Pasadena. It's all classic games.
Oh,
and they have
cool.
a bunch of pinball games there, too. And then there's 82 Barcade downtown LA.
That's all. Yeah, so like...
There's a lot of arcades now.
Yeah, now that there's like... this like older generation is kind of nostalgia for it. Yeah, there are barcades popping up. Mm-hmm. When I went to New York a few years ago, like that's when it was first kind of starting in Brooklyn. And now it's like really taking off. Yeah. So again, hopefully we'll have even more of that.
Mm-hmm. I will have one eventually, hopefully at some point. Yeah, that's the plan.
Where do you get all your arcade cabinets? Do you trade with some people? Do you like just hound eBay and Craigslist?
eBay and Craigslist all the time, and I search every city. I just scour, and then I just pay for the shipping if I find something in another city. I just, pay the shipping. It's only like $300. A lot of these games were pretty cheap.
Because a lot of these cases, people are just desperate to get rid of them, right?
A lot of people just don't want them anymore. It's like, and they've been trying to sell it forever, and they're like, okay, fine, just give me $300.
Yeah.
So Craigslist and eBay is what I do, and I try to get ones that are in pretty good condition. Sometimes I go to the Vintage Arcade Superstore, which is here in LA, and he sold me the Confidential Mission and the Excite Bike, and he fixes everything up. He charges more for them, but he does make.
That's the one thing I'm terrified if I ever buy an arcade cabinet is like I wouldn't know how to fix it, so I'd have to hire a specialist. I don't really either. Yeah,
there's a guy called Dr. Arcade, I think,
that's cool.
out here, and he'll come and like fix and just do whatever you need.
Very cool. So there are experts if needed.
Yeah.
Since like going to arcade kind of died off. Thankfully, like Xbox Live Arcade was a thing where it's like they brought all these like old arcade games to easily download. But then there's like the rise of like these indie games.
Yep.
So you talked about you love Geometry Wars, and I played like the first one was cool, but Geometry Wars 2, where they added all these modes, that game was really fun.
That's why I started playing was Geometry Wars 2. I never played the first one, then I went back and played the first one. I was like, that's all right. But 2 is awesome. Yeah. I love 2, and then 3 got like. At first I was like, I don't know if I like 3, but now I really like 3. The more I play it, I liked the aesthetic and the style of 2. I liked the way it looked and sounded. It was like very neon and like 80s and future 80s kind of. I was like, this is perfect. The third one went in a different style, but it was at first I was like, I don't like it, but then I started to like it when I realized how it like. They incorporated the levels more, where like you're constantly going around like this orb or whatever, or like different shapes, and you have to like run from things, and it made it hard because then you take like a turn, and you're like, whoa, I gotta go back, and it made it harder and more challenging, and it's really fun. And the graphics are more like I don't know if I'd say it's more like it's kind of like I'm kind of reference movies. It's like original Tron versus Prometheus.
Okay,
so it's like more like actual what the future will look like. Yeah. If it's all lines. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's more like white lines and stuff and more white grids and cleaner future looking. Does
Geometry Wars 3 have a version of pacifism? Because that's my favorite game.
It has all the classic levels. You can play waves. You can do all. Pacifism is my favorite too. That's what me and my friend Paul will go back and forth for hours. We'll play till like 4 a.m. trying to beat each other in pacifism. It's so fun.
Yeah, because like love that when I first became friends with you on Xbox Live or whatever, like I got Geometry Wars 2, played it nonstop. I was in the top like 200 for pacifism in the world. I think it was like 139.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, but this was like the first 2 weeks the game came out. Okay. Yeah, but it was like, and then I saw Nathan was competing, and we were like back and forth. But I got lucky one day.
You were the one I remembered. You're like right above me for so long. I was like, oh my gosh, he's like barely beating me. I have to take him down. I think you still are. I think we ended with you. That's as so funny. I mean, now I gotta go back.
Yeah, but that was something that was so fun about these like that 360 generation is like online leaderboards was so fun. Another game I loved. I don't know if you've played this, but Marble Blast Ultra.
No.
So Marble Blast Ultra was like one of the earliest Xbox Live Arcade games. You play as a marble. It's kind of like Super Monkey Ball.
I love Super Monkey Ball.
It's pretty similar. That's awesome. Where you're basically you're a marble, you're a ball, just like traversing these really weird like geometrical levels. And same thing like Super Monkey Ball. You have to get to the end in the fast amount of time.
Is it an arcade game or on
Xbox Live Arcade? Okay. I think it's since been delisted because of like that happened a lot.
Awesome.
That happened a lot where like games like soundtracks or licensing or companies would go bankrupt. So Marble Blast Ultra might be like a lost game. I don't think you can get it anymore.
Man, that's a bummer.
But yeah, it was basically Super Monkey Ball. But I love that. And I had like me and all my friends I went to high school with. We all got that game, and it was just like we were just competing with each other's times.
That's cool. Trials was like that.
Yeah,
Trials and Geometry Wars, the 2 games I was obsessed with.
So I didn't play the PS4, the newer one, Trials Fusion.
It's good. The levels get crazy. Like they're like really going nuts, like creatively with like the worlds and the themes and stuff. It's always fun. Like that game can do no wrong. Everything they ever put in those games, they're just super fun. I love them. It's just the physics. It's like that it's ragdoll physics.
Yeah, it's also satisfying too. Like once you get a good run in these games, it's
it was like flawless. You land everything so smoothly. Like yes, I beat that guy by like a fraction of a second.
Ollie. Did you ever play the Ollie games?
the skateboard game?
Yeah, same kind of thing. Really just fun. These quick like quick bursts of fun. You can pick up and play real quickly. Drop it. Yeah, just like do 1 or 3 levels, inch up your leaderboards.
Yep.
There's like a new thing now on Steam and like PS4 too is like roguelikes. Have you heard of like Rogue Legacy?
No.
So these are games where it's like randomly generated levels. So my favorite was Rogue Legacy.
Yep.
So it's kind of like Castlevania where the premise is like you're a knight, you go into a castle, but at first you're super weak. So maybe you'll like kill a few things, get some gold, and die. And then you like restart, but you have the golden XP you earned. Okay, and so you keep inching further along. Oh, you have enough to level up. So you keep leveling up, keep buying upgrades. So you start getting stronger and stronger. And so the more time you put into it, you can eventually beat it.
That's cool.
But yeah, so roguelikes are these games where it's always randomly generated, but like the more you play, you just like figure things out and you get better at them. But they're perfect to pick up and play. And they're all in like the digital stores. But yeah, Rogue Legacy is really good. Crypt of the Necrodancer kind of combines like a dungeon crawler with like DDR. So Crypt of the Necrodancer is you have to move on the beat. So you have to attack monsters and you have to stay on the beat, and if you slip up, then like you lose like your chain damage.
That's like a really unique
Crypt of
take on, like, a
Necrodancer.
rhythm
And the
game.
music is great in it.
That's cool.
Crypt of the Necrodancer. I really, really like.
It's kind of like
game.
what was that game? It was they had it on iPhone where you're just like this cube and you would jump over these triangle shapes.
Yeah.
And it was like, and you played, it was kind of like the Adult Swim game with the unicorn attack game or whatever, where you want to hear more of the songs. So you're like, I gotta keep going.
Oh, that's
And you
cool.
have to reset it a million times, but you're just jumping these like triangles. You can't land on them. Then you just jump a gap. And you need to go up high. And it's just a block flipping. I think it's called an Impossible game or something like that.
That sounds cool.
And the song is like, you're like, I want to hear more of the song. And you keep dying. You're like, no, I gotta go back. It keeps you playing. The music has a lot to do with games now, like rhythm games.
Yeah.
It's like, you basically just want to listen to these tracks, so it keeps you playing the game.
That's awesome. So now, leaving the arcade, saying goodbye. Oh wait, real fast. Chuck E. Cheese. Are we down with the clown?
I went to Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah.
Only a little bit though. Only when like my parents would take me there, but I think I went there a handful of times.
Yeah, I mean the Chuck E. Cheese by me had the X-Men like 8-player cabinet, so that was cool as hell.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
The
So,
huge,
like, the
was it a double monitor
the
one?
super-
Or was it 4 monitors? On that?
I think it was like it was
Or
this
2,
giant.
right?
Yeah, I don't know. But
It was at least 2 monitors. I remember that. I can picturing it now. 8 players.
it was huge. It was crazy.
Wow.
So it was like I remember just very few snapshot memories of like this little me looking over, but with like a full group of people.
Yeah.
So yeah, X-Men the arcade game was great. All those like Konami Simpsons and stuff.
Simpsons is really fun. I love side-scrolling beat 'em ups, and those are like fun versions. Simpsons is a really fun game. Yeah, those are them the best.
Quick bursts, satisfying.
Yep, Streets of Rage all the way.
So you talked about like where you get arcade games. What about like, are there any good retro game stores in LA?
A&J Games. He has a location in Santa Clarita and in Culver City. I go to him the most. I filmed a bunch of episodes, not a bunch of episodes. I filmed some scenes and Keith episodes in this game store.
Because I saw one thing you did with like Charlene Yee.
That's in A&J.
Okay, cool. I was
Yeah, where she comes in and like slaps me in the face or whatever.
Yeah.
That's A&J Games. That guy's really cool. He lets me. He's like, yeah, sure, come in anytime you want.
Oh, that's so cool.
So I just film stuff all the time.
So yeah, tying into filming stuff, I want to talk about your YouTube channel and more, not even just your YouTube. I want to know, like, you are such a strong physical performer. Like, I mean, yeah, you do these great big characters, but like your music videos is like the biggest thing on your channel.
Yeah, those go crazy.
And like even your gymnastics series, just like these crazy stunts. What is your background? How did you like? I'm so curious, like what your training is. I know you did comedy through UCB, but like, did you like? Where did you learn how to be such a great physical actor?
I don't know where I learned it. I don't even know when I figured it out.
Yeah.
I didn't. I wanted to be like, I was always falling down when I was a kid, but I wasn't. I was always active and stuff, and like I rode my bike, and we had a tree fort. My dad built like really crazy tree forts for us with like rope swings off the top, and we had zip lines and trapdoors and stuff like that. So I was always active, but I never like, I wanted to do gymnastics when I was little. I remember like liking seeing it in Olympics and stuff, and I never did. I skateboarded, so I was physical then. I jumped around, fell a lot. So, but I didn't think about adding it into videos until I think like when I came out here to LA like 10 years ago, which is crazy because I feel like I've been doing it before that. We filmed a lot of videos in Massachusetts before I moved out. We had like DVDs we'd put together and stuff. We called them Life on Fruit Street. I had a sketch comedy show in high school we filmed videos for. So I've been filming forever, but I wasn't really very physical until like I was like 24. I was like, oh, that's funny, like falling down. And I've always liked like Jim Carrey and everything, obviously, and like characters and stuff like that. But I figured it out, I think, while performing at UCB, because I'd be like, well, how am I going to get like a big laugh here? Oh, I'll just fall on my face, or I'll hit the wall, or I'll do something where my arms go numb. I started thinking differently. Like, the more I think it was just basically the more I made and the more I did, my mind really started thinking. And I was like, and I just kind of like gravitated towards physical comedy. So it's weird to say I've only been doing physical comedy for 10 years.
Yeah, that's like surprising to me.
It can't be. I need to like look back at the dates.
Yeah,
of, like,
but I
some
mean,
of the videos.
did you like? So I know like you did like comedy training through UCB and like you know that's just a great like community. But did you ever take like almost like acrobatics class or even clown lessons? Like it's so like when you.
I learned how to flip in 8th grade. I taught myself a backflip. I would do it on my friend's trampoline, and then I was like, all right, I'm going to try it on the ground. I remember the first time I ever did a backflip. I did it on his ground at Joe Burns' house in Medway, Massachusetts, and I landed like on my knees. I was like, oh my gosh, I did it. So I kept trying, and I kept landing, and I'd like still kind of had to catch with my hands, but I was like doing a successful backflip. And then I would do it off like the first bleacher, like out in the field, like the football field. I'd do off of like a step, and it made it easier. And then I learned how to do just from messing around with my friends. So I was like maybe like 15 when I started doing this. Or when I started full backflips, 14 or 15, I would do like round off to backflip and cartwheel or whatever to backflip, and I'd get more spring. And I taught myself like front flips, and I'd run and just do a front flip. And I just taught myself how to breakdance a little bit. And that's I guess when I first started getting really physical, was when I started learning to breakdance and flipping and stuff. And then I started incorporating that into like videos, I guess, like taking that physicality. I started doing gymnastics. Not doing gymnastics, but me and my brother and my friends, we go to this gymnastics place in Culver City out here, and at night they have like 3 hours where $15 adults can just come and use the equipment, and you can like have people teach you things and show you things, and we would just go and flip. And my friend Jared would just do flips all night and just flip as much as we could and like mess around on the trampolines and stuff. But that's when I like kind of like taught myself like, I guess, gymnastics, which kind of made it easier to then... I knew how to physically move and be aware of my surroundings and like how to like take a fall and stuff. And that just, I don't know, just all kind of started happening around like the same time.
That's awesome.
I don't know if I'm even answering the question, but
no, yeah. So it's just like as you start performing more, you just things fit together.
I really like falling. I think falling is always funny, and it's just like universal.
Yeah, and I think like being a skateboarder, like you just learn how to take a bail or.
Oh yeah, you know how to roll or take a hit or whatever, and just don't hit your teeth and keep your head up.
So, like, one thing, like, when I first started getting into comedy or even YouTube videos is, like, as soon as I was done with high school, because I lived in, like, Orange County, I was like, I need to go to UCB. And so I started going to UCB when I was, like, 18, 19 years old. And, like, now today, like, UCB is such a, like, oh, like, that is such a huge thing. Everyone knows about UCB. It's, like,
bigger than Groundlings.
Yeah, and huge. Yeah, really, it's flipped. That's because, when I was younger, it was like, oh, Groundlings, SNL. And now it's so irrelevant. And so I felt, like, cool going to UCB before it blew up, being like, oh, yeah, you know, like,
just small little black box theater.
So how did you, like, come into UCB and that whole scene? Did you specifically take improv classes or anything? Or like...
I knew about UCB before I moved here. I was thinking about moving to New York, so, like, SNL was, like, my dream. And I came from Massachusetts, so I was like, oh, I'll go to New York and do UCB. And I remember seeing a show in New York before I moved out. And then I heard they were opening one in LA. And I was like, all right, well, I can do that when that happens. And I like surfing too. Yeah. So I was like, well, I'll go back. LA makes more sense. I skateboard, I surf, so I'll go to LA. Real
quick for context, UCB is the Upright Citizens Brigade.
Yes.
It's a comedy theater, and now it's like basically an empire. Here in LA, comedy, sketch, improv. It's a cool place to learn comedy, do comedy, see shows, and make friends.
Most funny people you see in movies or on shows, SNL or doing bits on Conan, are from UCB. Yeah. So yeah, it was a great place. I just like signed up for round level 1 improv, and I made friends there. And when I was taking my like classes in like level 1 or 2, I started performing at shows. My teacher, I remember she said the first thing I did on stage where I was like in a character. My Danielle Schneider, Matt Besser's wife, says, "Oh, I'm having a show tonight." She told her kids in her class, people in her class. And I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go." And she's like, "We're gonna pull from the audience. So if anyone wants to do a bit, maybe you can get lucky enough and be the one." I was the one that got called up. You could put your name in a hat. I went to her show, and I was wearing my outfit for Simmons DuPont. I was wearing a unitard, and I wore it in the audience in case she pulled me up. I was like, oh, I hope I get. And I had this whole bit prepared. Didn't even know if I was gonna be able to perform it, but I had like this 5-minute routine prepared, and they called my name. She said Simmons DuPont, and I was like, oh my gosh, I get to do my bit. So I was expecting to go home and do nothing. And I remember Maria Bamford was in the show that night, and I was like, oh my gosh, I get to do a show with Maria Bamford. This is great. And my brother filmed it for me, and I have it online. And it was basically he just taught people what animals were, and he just acted like he was a cat that got sick. And I started doing this sick cat thing that I do, where I look like a cat throwing up. And then I was teaching the audience like what animals were, because as if they'd never heard of them, because this guy just discovered them. And I told him what a donkey was, and I was just doing all these stupid physical bits. And that was the first thing I did on UCB stage outside of like the classes and stuff. And then I made friends with like Neil Campbell and Paul Rust, and they'd have me like host Harold Night. And I was like, this is great. I'm like hosting these shows, and people were like liking the things I was doing. And then I started doing Not Too Shabby, which was like a weekly show on Fridays. I'm going on and on, but I started doing shows, and like there was like not many people performing there, and everyone kind of knew each other. And now it's insane,
because now there's 2 theaters, and it's
the
like
second theater is huge. And there's like they have all these classrooms there, and like it's bananas. It's so big. It's awesome for them that they've gotten so big. But it's harder for a performer, I think, now to like get in and like stand out, because there's so many people to like, there's so many shows, and like so much going on. It's like to get people to even go to your show is so hard. But like back then, it was like I don't know, new and exciting, and people were like always.
And it's funny, like I just did an episode with Sam Brown from Whitest Kids, and all the comments were like, "How did you know Sam?" And it's like. In my head, I've been friends with Sam for like 5 years because of UCB. It was just this. Yeah, everyone knows everybody.
Everyone was there. And everyone knows everyone. It's true.
And so that kind of leads into like I started going to UCB like, oh, this is so cool. Just like it was just fresh comedy. It was smart. But like as an 8-year-old kid, it was like, well, I'm not like good enough or like ready to like start doing comedy. But I have a YouTube channel, so I can just do bits there. I don't have to like take classes.
Yeah.
And so I think that's so like. When did you really start throwing stuff online in YouTube? When did that start gaining traction?
I put my first video online in 2005 when YouTube first started, but it was on my friend's channel, and it was a cartoon I had made. And then I put something else on his channel, and I was like, I'm just going to make my own channel. Because I couldn't do it. I had to go to I didn't have internet at our apartment when we first moved out here. We go to the library, and I had to put like the video on a disc, and then load the disc, and like load it to YouTube. And that's like how I put the video online. And I couldn't get the video on the disc every time or something, and then so I'd have my friend Paul load it from back home in Massachusetts, and then I made my own channel in 2006, and I started loading because I had all these old videos from that we shot on DVDs and VHSs, and I started loading those. And in 2006, I had my first hit. I got 300,000 views in 2006. It was crazy. It was on the front page of YouTube
which
forever.
Video was it?
It's called "We've All Got Problems," and it's me as my Simmons character. It's an excerpt from this 20-minute short film my brothers and I shot back in Massachusetts, and it's basically this flashback scene. But in the video, it's just me on a pogo stick, and I'm like bouncing. I'm not moving my head, and I'm just bouncing really fast. And my brother's like timing me. It's a silent thing, and then I tip over and I throw the pogo stick and hits a guy in the face. And it got 300,000 views, and I was like, "What's going on?"
Yeah.
It was insane to me that many people saw my video in 2006, and I was like, "Well, I gotta do more." So I started putting old videos up. I started shooting more videos. So 2006 is when I started, and then around 2008, 2009 is when things started like really picking up, and people were like knowing, because more people were on YouTube at the time, and like not many people were on YouTube, and that's when I just started really like putting out tons of characters and thinking of new characters and doing more physical bits. And like between UCB and filming my own videos, I was constantly performing or shooting or editing. I never slept. I was like loading videos, editing till 5 a.m. I wake up at like 8 a.m. I'd go take classes. It was always like constantly doing something. And then I only had a bicycle too, so I was riding my bike everywhere in LA. I was just so gung ho for like comedy. I just had so many ideas, but yeah, that was like how everything like kind of came together was YouTube and UCB.
That's my like that's specifically like I was in that state like 4 or 5 years ago. It was like nonstop, just making. And then like I've since kind of slowed down, but like
I'm the same.
Yeah,
it's like,
but now,
do it for so long,
you've had, but that's when you get that experience, right? Make so much.
It's basically like college. It's your college
basically,
in a way.
Yeah. Make as much as you can before you have an audience. That way, when you have a huge audience, anything you make is so polished and well produced that it's like, oh, this, like.
There's a lot of ideas that I shot a long time ago that I want to reshoot that I think could be better now.
That's a smart
idea.
Like, now that you have the production.
And most people haven't seen those videos, and like I had like copyright music in them and things I just can't load, So now I could take that idea and redo it now and make it better. Yeah, because you're kind of just like figuring things out. Yeah. And it's like your infancy of comedy, I guess. But.
And like, I think it's like Robert Rodriguez who did like, like now, like not Spy Kids and whatever. That's not his most famous work. But yeah, his philosophy was like, everyone has like 10 bad movies in them, so like might as well make it early when no one sees them.
Get them out of your system.
And then so I first know of you through like Talking Classics. But it's funny, I first saw you at UCB.
Oh, yeah?
You did like a video game sketch show. I think it was just called The Upright Citizens Arcade.
Yeah, that was Keith's thing. That's right. I remember like being really proud of that name. I was like, I was trying to think of what to call it. And I was like, just the Upright Citizens Arcade. It made so much sense.
It was simple. But yeah, I saw it, and it was funny. That was the first time I also saw Heather Campbell.
Oh, okay.
She and Bush did, and I think Curtis did like a Super Mario like midnight show bit. And it was like, oh, there's gamers at UCB.
Oh, there's a lot of them. Yeah, Jeff Slonaker is a big one.
Yeah. And like it was just, Slonaker did a bit there too, and it was just like, but again, it was just like, this is cool. And then I looked you online, and it's like, this is great. So Talking Classics, it's funny, like you're Nathan Barnatt, you do all these things, but also like in the video game world, there's people.
I know, it's this whole.
There's people who know just Keith Apicary.
People don't even know that Keith isn't real.
Yeah, exactly.
There's still people that don't know.
Yeah, so like you started making videos, and then you had like a deal with Screw Attack, right? And so you were producing stuff for them, and yeah, like the Keith Apicary thing, and I think this is what kind of ties into like you as Nathan Barnatt and Sega. The thing that's really refreshing with your like Keith Apicary bits and even like your YouTube channels is like as opposed to so much like video game content, it's very like optimistic and fun, and like it's just like it's just like fun, you know, like it's joy, and like whereas so much stuff is so cynical and angry and like this sucks. Yeah. Keith is just like, well, I like video games, you know, like
he likes everything.
Yeah, he's a turbo nerd with like turbo confidence, and like it's just it's just pleasant. It's pleasant to watch, and like you like are such a sweet, pleasant dude, and like Sega games it's all that like beaming optimism and like a little bit of a punk bad boy attitude, but like so like it's fun watching these like talking classics things, because it's like a lot of people like who watch YouTube videos just have this cynical thing built into them. They think like, why is this fucking Hollywood guy making fun of us? It's like, no, he's making fun of himself. Like he loves, like
that's I think what people is a go-to for people when they're like making stuff. They think the angle, it's easier angle. I get it. It makes sense. It's easy to make jokes from that attitude of being aggressive and angry, especially when like James Rolfe did it so long ago, and it's funny. People think, that's what I should do. So there's so many different variations of like the annoyed video game, angry video game, or there's like the frustrated game, or there's like all kinds of like other mad this, mad that. And I didn't really know of James at all in the whole gaming world, like what I got myself involved into when I started doing Keith. I realized, oh wow, I'm like the opposite. Yeah. So I was like, I'm just gonna keep going with that because no one else is doing the happy video game nerd. Yeah, exactly. Because people like love ranting, and like, I think it's a way people like it's an outlet for them to like. Yeah,
and again, it gives them some power somewhere. I get it, but like
I'd rather listen to a happy guy. Now, like this guy's awesome. He's down to party. He's super into everything, and it's funnier. Keith stinks at video games. And that's something people like to have the attitude of like, I'm good. I know my games, and this is what's crap. Listen to my opinion. Yeah. Keith is horrible at games and loves everything. Yeah. And even the bad ones. I think that's like a unique angle on it, and that's kind of how I am. Like I just love video games, and I'm not good at them, but I play them all the time. My brother Seth beats me at everything. My friend Paul, they beat me at every game we ever play, but I like them more than them. Like they like don't play them as much as I do, and they're like, okay, I beat you, I'm moving on. Yeah. And I'm like, whoa, I'm just gonna play all night now.
That's the thing. I am good at video games, but I have like a few friends who are who are like turbo nerds, where it's the sense is like they don't play everything, but the games they play, they fucking master it. They spend thousands of hours, and it's like I like playing co-op games with them because then they help me out. But different personalities. With me, I love everything. Like that's the thing. I love everything, and like last week,
except for Final Fantasy, turnstile games I can't get into. But like everything else. I like everything.
Like I talked with Sam Brown, and we talked about sports games, and like he made this really good argument where like people treat Street Fighter like sports now. So why not just treat sports like video games? And I was like, I had this thing ingrained in my head, like I don't want to play football or whatever.
I never thought of that.
And then and he was like, oh, you should play like the show. It's really good. And so I bought MLB The Show, the new one. And I started playing with my friends last night, and like, oh, this is fun.
The baseball game? Yeah. I like baseball games, but football games I can't play. Yeah, but tennis I like a lot too. Tennis, I had
virtual tennis.
I had an arcade cabinet last year of that game. That game is so fun. Tennis. Yeah. Tennis. Bowling I really like in video games. Pinball, which isn't a sport, but tennis and baseball are all really fun video games.
I got sidetracked a bit, but so Sam recommended it, and I started playing this baseball, and it's like, oh yeah, I like it because I love video games. It's just a fun, goofy thing, and so that's why I think like watching your videos, and even outside the key thing, all of it is just so like your dancing stuff is just like
I guess it's all optimistic.
Yeah, it's just fun.
Well, that's cool. I'm glad it's showing up that way, and you're seeing that, because I don't really think about it too much. I'm just kind of like putting out.
It's always a reflection of your personality. But like again, why I started this show is like I started the show Neighborhood Game Club because I wanted to basically do like a Mr. Rogers type thing where it's like everything is so angry. No, I want to meet people, and let's just talk about video games and have
what they like
time.
And what makes them happy.
And so when I was like young and feverish into UCB making stuff, I watch your videos in Mega 64, and it's like these are guys who are making stuff that they like, and it's like DIY. You know, like I love one thing that's so cool with your like music video stuff is like it's literally putting the tripod down in Santa Monica and just dancing. Like it's so like punk, but like again, you're not like harassing people. It's just like this is cool.
But every shot is stolen. I remember talking to a director one time. I was doing a commercial, and he's like, "Your videos must cost like hundreds of thousands of dollars." I was like, "It costs $8." So I bought a Gatorade or maybe $2. It's so cheap, but like it's getting those locations. I go in a grocery store and I just dance. I'm like, I only got like literally 10 seconds until the security starts yelling at me. I keep the camera rolling before I even walk in. So it's like rolling. I just drop it down and I just walk 20 steps away and just start dancing. And I'll dance until they come over to me and are yelling at me. And I'm like, oh, sorry. And I talk like this so that you can't see it on the camera. I'm like, almost done. And as soon as he got certain amount of moves, I'm like, okay, cool. And then I just grab the camera and leave.
That's great. And again,
yeah.
you wouldn't have that like ability to like quickly film something, direct it, get it out if you hadn't made videos with your brothers for 10 years.
Yeah.
So everything you do builds towards it. Because same way like. I shot like a mockumentary type thing at an arcade, like Palace Park or Boomers, this like corporate arcade.
Oh yeah, Boomers. There's some out here, right?
Yeah.
No, they're in like the Midwest, maybe.
There's a few. They started closed down, but there's a few here. But yeah, I shot it at Boomers. Didn't get permission. Shot with my big camera. Came in. We just started filming for like 5 minutes, and then security came. Like, all right, we're leaving. But yeah, we just.
If you hadn't done that.
Yeah, we just we got everything in and out. But
you have to. That's why you have to do things now, like sort of, to an extent, I guess. But like. It's so frustrating to have an idea and not be able to get it out. And
God.
I'm like, well, I gotta get permission. I gotta ask them. Like, I have to. This week, I'm going to a gymnastics place to shoot a video, and all the other past gymnastics videos, I never ask permission. I just go with my tripod, set it up, and hit record. And they think, oh, this is just a guy that's trying to practice gymnastics, and he's really bad.
Yeah.
And he's filming himself, and they leave me alone because they're like, oh, maybe he's a little crazy, and it doesn't look like I'm shooting a video. Then I put it online, I get tons of views, and it's like I have a whole video that could be a commercial. Actually, Sprint asked me for some footage for that from one of those recently. They ended up not using it, but like it has like that whole like it's like very real look where it's like, oh, that guy's just eating. It's like a fail. They look like a big bunch of fails. And this is the first time. The last time I went, I was there. I was there longer than I was supposed to be, and they're like, and you're not supposed to even be filming in here. So they were kind of annoyed, and I was like, oh, sorry, I didn't know. I just acted like the character was like, oh, I didn't understand. I'm sorry. And now I called them, and I'm gonna go back and shoot it like legit. It's only gonna cost me $100.
Oh, nice.
But I have like 2 hours to do whatever I want. So yeah, but it's so much easier just to go in and do it and get out. It's like that saying everyone always says, it's like easier to ask for forgiveness than it is permission. It's so true.
And that was something else that kind of turned me off from like again, I love UCB in the community, but like when I wanted to like make web videos or help videos out, they're like, okay, yeah, you can be the second AD, and it's like, wait, like they'd have 30 people do.
So I could just stand there and do nothing.
They'd have 30 people to make like a 2-minute like Funny or I Die short, and it's like. You just need one person, like...
Yeah, just need a camera. Yeah. And a guy to be in front of it.
And so, so me and my friends, like, and, I went to high school with, we'd make silly videos that would, get, like, tens of thousands of views just ourselves without, like, renting out a sound stage or, like... Yeah, so I love the DIY ethic.
Me too.
So that said, you are doing things on your own. You don't have, like, people to tell you no. Have you, like... So, like, watching your physical comedy stuff is, like... There's two things I want to know. Is, like... injuries and like how you sustain it, but also what is your fitness regime? But first I want to know like how are you able to like do all this stuff without taking a beating, without being sore? Is that tied into just practicing?
I don't know. I think I just realized I have a knack for it and I just don't get hurt. I don't bruise.
Because that was also Buster Keaton's thing, right? Is like I forget
he just was good at it.
Yeah.
And it's just I sound a little crazy, but I recently this year started thinking I might be the reincarnation of Buster Keaton. It sounds kind of like an egomaniac thing. But Buster Keaton died on February 1st, and I was born on February 2nd. And there's a lot of similarities in, like, the things we do.
Yeah.
I just really starting to think, like, oh, wow, maybe I am him. But I like to think I'm just, like, I'm a sequel to Buster Keaton because I loved everything he did. No one's doing it anymore, really. There's a couple of people doing some physical stuff, but no one really to the extent that I do it. Like, kind of risking my life at times. But it's so fun to, like, pull off a really good physical bit. Actually editing right now a physical comedy reel, the second one. I have one that I put up online, and my friend was like, that stinks. So you didn't put any of the good stuff in there. He's like, because he knows all my videos. My friend Paul, he directs like a lot of stuff I do. He's like, you got to put all this other stuff in. So I recently, the past 4 days, I've been scouring the internet for every physical thing I've ever done. Other people's videos, commercials, pilots, TV shows, like everything. And I have like this 5-minute reel. I'm now breaking down, cutting it down. And it's like, hit after it's like I was like, wow, I did so much and I haven't gotten only injuries I've had is this tooth is fake right here.
Oh wow.
It kind of shows it's a little brighter. I knocked it out in a video called Surprise Brain Syndrome where it was just me falling down over and over, and I hit my face on the ground of a bowling alley and broke my tooth. So at the end of the video you can see I'm talking and I didn't have it fixed yet. You see half a tooth. I know it messes my head up so I can't think about it. And then I shattered my heel as Keith at SGC like 2 years ago. I jumped off of like a roof, like a little ledge to like introduce myself. I was like, I'm Keith Apicary, and I jumped off and I shattered my heel, and I did the whole show on one foot with like a busted heel, and I just didn't want to not do the show, so I was like, I'll go to the hospital after. That's the only 2 injuries I've had out of everything I've done, and I've done some pretty dangerous things like falling off roofs into dumpsters.
Like one of the first things I saw when I started paying attention more is the Virtual Boy music video. Like you're walking and you jump into a dumpster.
I had the virtual boy on my face, yeah. And when I did that, I could see, it was basically like I had it like this, and you could see down. I could see my cheek, basically. So I could see right a second before the roof ended. I was like, oh, here it comes. It took me a little while to do. I did 3 takes where I actually walked off, and I used the best one. There was, because I didn't want to look like I was hesitating.
Because that's the biggest thing,
or
too.
Like I was like, walk to the end and then step. I need to like walk as if there's a step and then fall. But doing that, I would move, my momentum moving me forward. I didn't want to hit my face or my chin on the dumpster was pretty narrow. So one time I did it and I felt the back of the dumpster like go up against my shirt. And I was like, oh my gosh, I could hit my tailbone. I could hit my butt and like broken my back. And then another one, I came a little close to the front. I felt like I came too close, and I also hesitated. But the one take, I just like walked off, and I had to walk to the edge and then back step.
Yeah.
So I had like perfectly timed, and then I could just walk right off.
Yeah, because when you watch it, it is so smooth and natural. But yeah, you see like he could have smashed his head.
Yeah,
like, that's
and
crazy.
it was just trash in that dumpster too.
Yeah.
I just fell and like I put all the trash bags like in the center and just landed on them and then squatted.
Yeah. Well, again, that's why I love like Jackie Chan. I love
Jackie
Chan.
Chan
Is like, you know, he's the Chinese Charlie Chaplin. Like he is
really
so.
Is.
And it's weird because like now Jackie Chan like does like he doesn't do stuff anymore, but like, you know, early 2000s the family movies. So people kind of forgot that Jackie Chan, like if you watch his stuff in the 80s, like Police Story, it's crazy.
Yeah, he has some of the best physical bits.
Oh, it's insane. Yeah.
Ever. Like better than Buster Keaton, better than anybody.
Early on before like I mean Rush Hour is comedic, but like early he was doing comedy. Like he has a bit in like Police Story 1 or 2 where he's juggling telephones and it's like it's like there's like when I was watching I was like, oh, I didn't know he does like pure comedy.
It's so funny. He is great. I love Jackie Chan. That's what I would like to do. I'm trying to sit right now. I'm like, because I've thrown myself around so much. I am like I'm more tired now at the end of like a day where I'm like shooting something. And I'm like, ugh. I'm going to take like a nap now. And like, I'm just going to like take the whole night off. But before I'd be like, I'd get beat up and I'd edit all night. And then I'd go back out the next day and I'd ride my bike somewhere and do more physical bits. I'm just so gung-ho. Now that I'm 35, I'm like, I hate saying it, I'm a little embarrassed. I'm slowing down. Not as much as you'd think. I still do backflips and jump around. I like being active. But I'm trying to be more cautious and like use my bits when I really need them, because I'm trying to shoot a movie this year, a feature, and it's really physical. I feel like this will be like, because not everyone knows me, obviously. I'm just like, you know, kind of popular on the internet, but I want to like make my first movie that like, if I like really show up and I'm like put on the map after this movie, like this is like my bottle rocket or something, I want it to be like the perfect representation of me. So I put in like these great bits of things I've seen, done in old videos and things we've seen, and new things where it's like, whoa, this is like Jim Carrey times 10. So I want people to be like, forget Jim Carrey. Yeah. I love Jim Carrey, but I want to like do my version of physical comedy. So this movie I'm trying to get shot would be that. So now I'm like kind of like taking it easy a little bit.
Yeah, resting up before the big.
But like, yeah, some of the stuff I can't do unless I have the setting and like the people and the things. So it's like it's a waste to shoot it in a video and put it on the internet. Yeah. And like I need to buy like a car that I can rip the hood off of and like then have my head. Like, you know, I need to do this. There's a lot of bigger. Like Jackie Chan had movies. So we had like a good playground to like figure things out. I had me and a camera and my brother sometimes. So I haven't been able to do some of the physical bits.
That's the thing too, is like, it's low production. So if you ever do get the opportunity, it's like, damn.
It's really just me and a wall a lot of the time that I'm doing my physical bits with, or like me hitting the ground in a different way and like falling over in a different way. But like if I had like a set that I could like destroy, a fake kitchen or something, I'd be hanging from a ceiling fan, falling into a sink. I would do like anything and everything. So like I need to like shoot this one movie and then be like, people will go, oh, we know what you do. Be in our movies and do it. And then I'll just be off running like
That'd
crazy.
Be great. This is a total side thing, but what's your favorite Jim Carrey film?
My favorite Jim Carrey movie. I really like Dumb and Dumber.
That's my favorite. Yeah.
It's either that or Ace Ventura. But Dumb and Dumber maybe. That was like so funny to me. I watched it. I saw it multiple times in the theater. I was like laughing. I'd be crying so hard. Yeah. That's just a really funny movie because it's not just its physical.
There's comedy. There's like wordplay and just like the joke. Like it's the
dumbness. And I love dumb characters. Yeah. That's like I feel like you can't go wrong with a good classic dumb guy.
That's like one of the funniest films. Mm-hmm. And again, it's weird. It's like that movie's
in Living Color though. Some of the stuff he's on Living Color is like funnier than any movie he's ever done. His exercise video where he's that woman with the pigtails. Yeah. I forget her name, but she talks like this. It's when he backbends to the ground. It's so funny. And I've actually practiced that to do it. And it's really hard because you have to like get your legs to go out, your knees to go out the right way where you can actually go flat and like hit the ground hard and not hit your head. He's a master, man. And he's awesome.
Like again, that stuff was like 20 years ago and it's like So like kids today don't really realize, but like
so now watch me.
So now
I'm relevant, right?
Yeah, now that no one knows, you can take over. That's awesome. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to anything else you do. That's cool. One other thing I'm stoked about is you have this like new Thrash character, Skate.
Oh yeah,
what is this?
I think hopefully if nothing changes, we're shooting this Tuesday the first scene. His name's Buse. And he's in a band called Mental Abuse because his name's Buse because his mother messed up. He has a twin brother, and she named him Buse because she meant to write Bruce on his birth certificate, and then she handed that in. So then she's like, "Oh, sorry, that's what it is." But yeah, he's like it's really like aggressive and like annoyed all the time. It's my first character that's kind of like that. Everyone's always like happy and like innocent in a way. This guy's like he's also kind of like an innocent idiot and ignorant to like the world, but he's like got this like hard front that he puts on, but he's not really like that. Like he's actually like tries to impress people by being like that. So he has like moments where he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm just kidding." Then he's like, psh, and then he doesn't care. He's just like a cocky.
But I love it too because like the promos you put out are rad. But again, I just like this because it's like a relic from the '80s or '90s, like stuff you would see in these older movies. It's just like just saying those few promos. Also, one of my favorite videos he did is like. I think just called Nathan Barnatt skate video. Like, just a simple thing you in Venice Beach, but like it's just like again growing up as a kid I was too fat to like skate well. But like I love the Tony Hawk games, I love the punk music, so I just skater culture I love. I mean I'm even wearing a hookup shirt like
there you go.
Like I just love skater culture. So like I'm so seeing the thrash on the skate, it's like yes, this is
and he will skate in this. He's not, I don't know how many tricks he'll do, but he kind of just like skates around. Because like I skated my whole life, so I'm like trying to put elements of me in there. And I really liked when I was a teenager, I really liked like Ride the Lightning and Metallica and stuff like that.
Thrash is
so into it.
Thrash is great. There's a newer contemporary thrash band called Municipal Waste.
I was actually going to have I love Municipal Waste, and I was thinking in this Buse never wears a shirt. But he only if he ever does wear a shirt, he wears a Municipal Waste shirt.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's either them or I was gonna maybe go more like old school hardcore, like Minor Threat angle. But it makes more sense to have it be more thrash. So he's like, I only wear Municipal Waste shirts, but I can't find any right now. So he has to get one.
That's
on
great.
eBay.
Another thrash band I like, which to me represents like it's so cheesy, but I love is DRI.
DRI is awesome.
Oh, I love DRI.
Yeah.
I love DRI, but it's funny listening to it like as you're older because they were like that first album. They were like teenagers, but it's like. Commuter man, you go to work in your office. And it's like these are teenagers, but it's like it's charming. Like it's but I love DRI.
DRI is great. And it's funny because when I was listening to a ton of DRI, Municipal Waste, and then old Metallica. When I was like writing these, I wrote 2 episodes. And I was like, this is gonna be awesome. I love the energy of like a thrash show, and it's just like. It's just like go and get your aggression out and like mosh, but
it's still fun. It's still fun.
It's all fun. It's not like aggressive. Like mosh, but it's not like punching. It's just like we're just here to have fun.
It's like it's the NJWK side.
Like Suicidal Tendencies is a good representation of that whole world too. It's like I just want a Pepsi, that kind of attitude.
That's because I saw that and was like, yes, and then now knowing it's directly inspired, like DRI used to always hell yeah, stoked for that. That's cool. So again, if you don't know Nathan Barnatt, check out his YouTube channel. Check out his other work. Hopefully, dope-ass movies in the future.
Oh, yes, that's the plan. This year will change everything.
There's still a few more things. We'll do quick questions I have. One thing I kind of want to talk about, this is a broader thing, but you would know, the question I have is, like, is YouTube still magical? What I mean by this is, like, I felt like, again, this could just be personal reflection, but, like, when I was super into doing UCB and comedy, YouTube was, like, this awesome place, very community-driven, whereas now... Like, there used to be a lot of kids just making videos on YouTube and, like, kids picking up cameras. Now kids are doing stuff on Snapchat and Vine. And, like, it's cool you're just making stuff, but, like, you kind of don't stumble across random videos on YouTube anymore. Now that it's all these, like, They're
quicker things that people have. Like, Facebook is where you see a lot of stuff, but it's always pulled from Vine. Like 10-second clips.
Yeah, and that's the stuff I love on YouTube. Just fun stuff. And now everything on YouTube is, like, Maker Studios presents all these, like, super, like, production warehouses. And it's, like... That's kind of like I like YouTube.
I honestly think the content is going downhill. In my opinion, it's not as like people aren't as like creative anymore, and like they all think they have to make everything look flashy. And like I kind of favor like not nice looking quality videos.
Well, that's what was just refreshing watching the you did the thrash thing with a dog, and it was here's a wide shot. You walk over the dog, you hit play. And there's no cuts, no cuts. It's like, it was actual filmmaking. It was cool.
I like stuff like that. Like I like everything's choreographed and planned. Like when you watch a movie, you don't realize like sometimes they don't cut for like a minute.
Yeah.
It's just a whole scene happening.
Yeah.
The camera's moving and it's keeping your attention going because the visual is changing.
And everything is planned and like they know what they're doing.
Fast cuts I feel like are cheap and easy. And I remember Buster Keaton and Jackie Chan have said that like show the action.
That too.
Don't cut. And like people always complain about that now in like action movies where they cut on a punch.
It's so
it's like because they don't really punch, or they cut on hitting the ground. If you show someone hitting the ground, you feel it. You're like, oh my god, that guy like really hit the ground.
Yeah.
That's what I like doing. I like showing it and like keeping things wide. Like I like really like Wes Anderson movies where it's like the camera's just sitting there and now do your play in front of the camera. It's like cool. It keeps, I don't know, it feels more cinematic in a way. And so I try to put that in my videos, and that's just kind of how I think anyways. I'm like, oh, I like, just do it. Instead of cutting around, I feel like it's cheap. But that's like a lot of like, that's like a maker kind of thing. It's like, make this like flashy trailer. And like the humor itself, it doesn't have to be good because your attention's being there with visuals. Yeah. And so like I think the writing goes downhill because you're like, oh, we'll just make it look flashy and nice to make our idea better. Yeah. But like if you only have one shot, you better be performing well.
And it has to be good enough to keep the attention.
And if your stuff is getting views, then you know it's doing well. And if you're shooting that format, it's like, okay, cool. And people have told me too, like I don't swear in any of my videos or anything, and I'm not saying like you shouldn't. Like I laugh super hard at things that are like, foul language and like really like gross content and stuff. I like it. That's like anyone. But I've never swore in my own personal life, so I just kind of don't think that way when I'm writing. Yeah. And people have told me like, oh, it's cool that you can write jokes without having to swear. You
can write jokes. Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, well, I didn't really think about it. But like, and I'm like, now that I'm conscious of it, I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool that like, it is harder to do. But I think like wider shots in clean language, and if your stuff's still good, then you are making something good. But I don't want to be preaching like PG content or anything. I don't want to make it sound like that. But you do really get to work for it more. Yeah. And I think when you write something you really are being funny, and you're not just like using like the F word for the punchline. It's like, because anyone can do that. So if you can like do it without that.
Well, again, even like early Simpsons, like that was before Family Guy. You couldn't be foul, so they had to make everything so clever and smart and really juice it.
Nowadays, like everything is like everyone's making content. There's so much stuff, and a lot of it is just like people kind of copying other people and like just saying. Usually, I feel like people like lean on sexual like jokes, and it's like, oh, come on, man. Everyone, if I see something with like a sex joke or drugs or like swearing, it's like I'm automatically turned. For me personally, I'm automatically like, I've heard this joke a million times. Like I don't want to like knock Amy Schumer because I think she's really funny and she has a lot of funny stuff. But a lot of times it's just like sex. I'm like, all right, I guess that's her thing. But I heard this almost exact same joke in another sketch show, like in the 90s, because it's just so easy to go down that road. So like for myself, I feel like I tried to be like, no one else will ever make this joke, ever. Yeah. Like I'm the only person that will think of this combination of words. Then now it's unique. So sometimes I'll write things, I'm like, I can't do that. It's too much like what someone else has done. Yeah. And I have like this like OCD thing where I don't want to ever be similar to any other
that's the same thing too. Is I've come up with bits and it's like, oh, that's so clever. I will search on Twitter or YouTube. Has anyone done that?
Yeah, I'll do it too. I'll search like this combination of words or saying this just because you don't want to like do. Oh, dang it.
Because I came up one bit I had, which I was like so proud of, is like, and it's funny, it's not that funny or original, but like I came up with this idea of like I'm like fascinated with serial killers, like just like whatever. But I had an idea of like a short where there's two serial killers. One is like a hitchhiker who's like wants to get picked up, and the other guy picks it up, and they both don't know that they're serial killers. So it's like funny. And it's like, and like you write this thing where they're both like insinuating, and it turns out they're both serial killers, and then become friends and kill others. And I was like, oh, so a serial killer picks up a hitchhiking serial killer. And I searched online, and like, oh, someone had already done that. And it only had maybe like 50,000 views years ago, and it's like, well, shit, it's already been done. So it's like,
so now I can't do it. Yeah, I've had the same thing where it's like, well, I'm over it now. It automatically turns you off. At first, you're kind of like, dang, man, because that was an idea. Like, but it's just do something else.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you could still do it because there's so many people that haven't seen that. Yeah. But once you are aware of it, it changes it for you. You're like, now I feel like I can't.
That juice is gone. That was something that Heather taught a writing class, and I took it. And like Heather said, like if like producers or someone says no to your pitch or a joke, okay, make more. If you really want to be like a filmmaker or writer or whatever,
it's true.
If someone says no, then if you're good, you should be able to pull more out.
Yeah, just keep going. Yeah, keep making it. Yeah, because there's always someone's already said something. Yeah. And you can never be like that original. But if you can be mostly original, then you're doing pretty well.
I think one other thing too that's fascinating with like anyone who creates stuff is like, And I think that's the sign of someone who's good at creating is you're never satisfied, you know?
Yeah, never.
So it's like, here I am, I'm 25 and you're 35.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so it's like I'm 25. There was like 4 years when I made a lot of YouTube sketches, and like I have like over like I don't know 5 million views. Like you know, I've like, made a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But and it's funny, like I'm a little bit removed from that, and I feel like I haven't done anything. You know, and it's like
that's how I feel.
Yeah, and it's like
I feel the same way.
You've done so many videos. You have like hundreds of millions.
But
of
it's
views.
like I don't care.
Yeah, you've
anyone
done series.
can make a video.
Yeah, you've done like
not everyone can make a movie.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like you've done so many things. You're accomplished. You have an arcade. There you go.
Yeah,
That's probably like the best. And it's like same thing. You're like
pretty cool.
Yeah, and like you're in the same place where it's like I need to do my like big thing. I need, you know, and like
when you realize that, it kind of changes things a lot. You're like, oh, I'm never gonna be satisfied.
And it's okay to accept that. And just like, all right, just keep going, keep happening. Because when I talked to Derek Acosta from Mega 64, same thing. You know, he's done this giant empire, Mega 64, for 10 years.
I
haven't done anything. You know, and it's like and then
because when you think about like the grand scheme of the world, like in life and existence, like you want the goal is to like kind of be remembered. That's part of it. That's like your ego, you know, wants you to like do all this work in for something, and it's not just goes away. Like in as is now. I'm not making that big of a footprint, so I need to go bigger. And also, your ideas get bigger and bigger, and you want to outdo yourself,
more abstract,
and like make something that you're really proud of. But you're probably it's never gonna change. You're gonna be like you'll make movies and be like, who cares? Like all these other guys are making movies too. Now I need to direct theater.
Yeah,
you gotta
exactly.
go do something else.
Yeah. And so like this like podcast type thing, it's kind of like a bridge. It's like I don't know what I want to do. I like talking about video games. I'll do this for now, but it's like what am I gonna do after?
It's good to have something to keep your mind going.
Same thing.
I'm trying to do that with my brother. Like there's so many days where I'm like I'm going crazy because I didn't make something, I didn't record, or even just like doing a live video on Facebook satisfies me. It's like okay, I was like I did something. I talked to people and I said a couple of jokes or whatever. But now I'm like, okay, we need to do this video podcast or something where like we just sit and talk because like we get going, we get real crazy and we start ranting and like arguing, and it's like it's pretty humorous to other people. So like we should just do that just so I can have a reoccurring outlet.
Just you should like. I mean, again, I when I was going to do this podcast, I was scared because it's like I do sketches on my YouTube channel. Are people going to watch an hour thing? And people do.
People love long stuff now.
So that it's we're getting right how things have turned. But so I don't know even if you make a second channel or whatever. But you should just do it. Sit a camera down, you and your brother talk.
This is like the kind of a pilot episode because we're gonna put it in the arcade
and
just like sit here and ramble and talk about all these crazy inventions that he.
That's the thing. I listen to podcasts or videos while I play video games.
That's how I listen to Game Grumps in the car when I'm like driving. I'll just listen to the.
So there you go. If you do a thing, I'll watch it. But
likewise.
Great, awesome. That was a good conversation. We'll take some emails. Kyle asks, are there any games that you're embarrassed about that it took you so long to play? He talked about he had Ocarina of Time when he was a kid, but the box art had an owl, and he wasn't into that, so he didn't want to play Ocarina of Time.
That's cool.
So are there any games that you took so long to play that you feel bad for?
There's gotta be. There's so many things that I just discovered that I had no idea about.
For me, it was Link to the Past. I didn't play that till last year, 2 years ago. As a kid, I tried playing it on like SNES and emulator. I was like too dumb. So finally, 2 years ago, I finally sat down and played Link to the Past. Loved it. That's easily my favorite Zelda game.
That's cool. I never played any of the Zelda games. I tried at one point to play Link to the Past is the first one, right? No, that's the Super Nintendo one.
That's
right. Yeah. I never played any of them. I tried playing the Nintendo one a while ago, and I was like, I'm bored. I don't understand what I'm supposed to do. But for me, I'd say Portal. I didn't play that till last year.
Oh, wow.
Both of them. Yeah, and I didn't play any of that, like Half-Life or anything. My brother Seth was really into Half-Life, so I kind of saw them, but Portal is amazing. Yeah. I love that game, and I'm happy actually that I waited because I like it so much now, and I played both of the Portal 1 and 2 through like a couple of times last year. I just going right back in. I was like, I'm going to do this again. It's so satisfying. And now I have the HTC Vive pre-ordered.
Oh yeah.
And the one thing I'm really excited for is the Portal demo. I played that.
I didn't know they were doing that. No.
It's crazy. It's just a demo where you're like in this room, and then the shorter robot comes in and you need to repair him, and you're like walking around this whole room with him, and you can go, I can crawl under him and look up under him. It's like he's really in front of you. It's kind of weird because like you can see them in like the human size that they are. Like they're like the size of us, so they kind of seem big, It's pretty cool. I love Portal. Anyways, everyone get HTC Vive if you can.
It's funny because when Portal came out, that became such a huge pop culture thing. Yeah. So the game was great, but everyone kind of got sick of it because it was like, oh, the cake is a lie, all this stuff. Yeah, now you're playing it removed, and it's like, oh, this is good. Yeah. But Link to the Past and Portal. Both good games. Also, I was kind of late on God of War.
I know I played for like a second and I was like, yeah, I'm not into it. But.
I played the God of War games like 2 years ago and I'm like, oh, these are fun. Yeah, I liked it. M. Ashcroft asks, are there any games in which you really enjoyed the atmosphere? For him, he loves Mass Effect.
That's how I feel about Uncharted.
Uncharted?
I just could just look. I got peanut butter bubble in my throat. I could just look around forever and then I play the game just like in the jungle and just look and be like happy there.
One part that blew me away in Uncharted 2 when you get to like Nepal, you're in that little village in the mountains.
No, the boat in the waterfall.
That was cool. But like when you're up in the mountains, that little mountain village with all the Sherpas, that was where I was like, you're in this village, and you have a moment where you can look over like the cliff and see all these mountains. That was the thing where I was like, holy shit! Like, again, PS3 games, so like not like greatest graphics in the world because it's a little dated. I played it a little late. But yeah, when you're in that town, it's like this is amazing, and you see the people
sky
interacting.
is always so nice. Those games are great. We
already kind of talked about Sega games like Top Skater, Crazy Taxi. Love the punk soundtrack and like the cheesy product placement. Another game I really like for its atmosphere. Oh yeah, Jet Set Radio.
Yeah, those are cool. Just like the style and the animation is awesome in those games.
But yeah, I just love the Tokyo punk aesthetic. Like again, the neon colors. The soundtrack makes it for you. But yeah, those are just fun to skate around and be a cool punk teenager.
The games that are out now that remind me of Jet Set Radio and Jet Set Radio are what are the games with the paint? What's it called?
Splatoon. So that game is awesome.
It's very similar to me. It's like just tons of colors and running around, and it kind of seems like almost anime-ish, you know? Yeah,
Splatoon's great. There's a rumor that they might be doing a Splatoon version for the NX, Nintendo's next console.
Oh, is it called the NX, the new one? That's cool.
They might report Splatoon and Mario Maker. That's speculation. Cool. E3's coming up. We'll find out. But yeah, Splatoon's great.
You think there's going to be new systems at E3 this year?
Just a Nintendo.
They're going to show the new system?
And Nintendo NX. Yeah, that's probably what they're announcing.
Wow, that's big.
And then there's rumors they might do PS4 4K and Xbox One what I don't know. Whatever.
Up-res it or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like iPhone 6 point.
6S
or whatever
they're called. Basically. Yeah. One other game that had a really good atmosphere, similar to Jet Set Radio, was Sunset Overdrive for Xbox One.
Yeah, that I've seen that game. Looks really cool.
The writing is kind of like juvenile, like it's like the writing. It feels like it's very much aimed for like a junior high kid. So other than that, though, like the gameplay, the music is great. There's a lot of music by this punk band called the Death Set.
Oh, that's cool.
Again, kind of like thrashy. So same thing. It's that Jet Set Radio, Splatoon, bright colors, punk. Anything that's punk and cool.
Nice, I'm into it.
Javier lives in Puerto Rico, and he sent me an email with all these pictures. GameStop was leaving Puerto Rico due to some taxes, and so they started selling off everything in the store, including furniture, posters, kind of like how you have your Game Boy kiosk.
Oh, yeah.
So we got everything from 50 to 97% off on the last day.
Wow.
And so he said he just went around the island going all these GameStops, and I'll post the pictures, but he has like PS4 kiosks, Xbox One kiosks, all this junk that he got for dirt cheap.
How much did he spend on this?
So he said like not too much, and he has receipts where it's like you've saved like $3,000. But he said the downside is now there's no place to get video games in Puerto Rico
because they're in his house.
Yeah, so
that was funny cool. And sad.
Yeah, so I'll post those pictures in a link below. Thank you for watching Neighborhood Game Club. I might take a little break so I can play more video games. But I hope you enjoyed this episode with Nathan. Nathan, do you have any message people out there?
Oh, thank you for watching this, and thank you for being interested in me and Frank.
And this Frank.
And this Frank. Thank you for saying hello.
Very cool. Yeah, if you have any crazy, weird collections like Javier, send them in. If you live in Southern California and have crazy collections like arcade cabinets, let me know. We're going to do an N64 episode in the future. If you have N64 questions, send them in. The email.
I had a portable Nintendo 64.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, I don't have it anymore. Dang it. That would have been cool to show you that.
All right. Thank you so much for watching. Now we're going to play arcade games, eat pizza, no parents, no rules.
Yeah.
That's the Nathan Barnatt
That's the motto.
All right. Don't tell your mom you watched this.
Bye.